Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Toonami Squad Sessions podcast. I'm your host Sam at Sam2299. With me today, we have the other Sam.
Hi there.
We have Joshua making a triumphant comeback after a couple months of being out for surgery. How you doing, Joshua?
Surgery was like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. So yeah.
Well, you're still making a good recovery period.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gone
So
for a couple of months, but yeah, I'm back.
And we have Steve.
Go Knicks, bozo.
We have Logan.
Yo.
And with us today, we have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I can. This is CJ Maffers, editor-in-chief at ToonamiFaithful.com.
Great to have
Welcome.
you on.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It's nice to officially meet some that I've only messaged before, so it's nice to have the real chat experience with other like-minded Toonami fans, such as everyone here.
No, thank you.
That's great. Thanks for being on.
Of course. It was just a lucky coincidence that I was able to have some time to be able to join everyone here today.
All right. So it's been a while since the last podcast. Usually, I like to schedule these based on a number and the amount of news we get, and sometimes there's a drought and sometimes there's a flood. Of course, it was the former. But we will start with our usual topic. What are we watching? CJ, just letting you know, this is usually a topic where we go around the room and pretty much just talk about whatever we've been watching as of late, whether it be anime or any other genre, or
gotcha.
movies.
Okay. Not specific to Toonami. Got you.
It doesn't have to be specific to Toonami. You could not even anime. Like, we mention movies sometimes we'll mention live action shows, things like that. So I'll go first. God, it's been a while since the last time. There's been a lot of stuff I've seen. One of the first things since the last one was I watched the sequel, or I don't know if it's a sequel, but like in-universe sequel to SSSS Gridman SSSS Dynazenon, because I heard news of that crossover movie that's apparently been doing well in Japan, and I need that movie, but I gotta see Dynazenon, so let me see Dynazenon. And I was pleasantly surprised. I literally, not joke, thought it was better than Gridman. Astonishing. After that, I also saw another classic, Code Geass. A lot of the squad members were excited for me to watch that, and oh boy, I could really use some Pizza Hut. This table is looking really sturdy right now. And of course, C2.
Ma'am.
I was waiting for that. Jokes aside, great show. Like, literally, not like, I don't know how I don't think it's the greatest, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time. On the movie side, I've also watched Clone High. That got added to HBO Max recently, and I know the new one's coming out, so I saw the original. Really good. I swear to God, it felt like I was on drugs at some point. Like, I knew it was weird, but it was like extremely weird. In terms of movies, I saw John Wick 4. I love the John Wick movies, and this is literally the best since 1. And I think it's also supposed, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think they already said they already confirmed some spin-offs and stuff like that. So Keanu, I think, is done with the series, but what a way to go out, really. Saw that. I saw the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which honestly took me by surprise. It's not the greatest movie, ever made, but it certainly was a great time. And the only thing that I wish from this is I wish Nintendo decides to do more adaptations with their franchises. I would kill for Zelda like movie or series. Don't let it be Illumination though. Like if they say Zelda with Illumination, I'm gonna break. I'm gonna jump out the window. Um, but yeah, and then I also saw Makoto Shinkai Suzume, aka damn, this chair be looking hot right now. Um, but yeah, that was a great movie too. Like I recently like been binging some of Makoto Shinkai movies, so like Your Name, Weathering with You, Silent Voice. I don't know how to feel about this. Like I don't want to say it was the best of his movies that I've seen, but it's not the worst either. Like well, I haven't really done like a ranking on these, but I want to say it's like probably in top 5 for me. And then just as of recently, I've been watching Dororo, because of Sam one got me into it. But like I'm over halfway through, and I've been enjoying it. It's been a really emotional ride.
It's a great show.
Yes.
Great show.
But
Great show.
yeah. I'm trying to think if I saw anything else. I think that's. I mean, also like just in terms of like I watched the current simulcast. Been watching a lot of new anime like Hell's Paradise. Really good. Check it out. Heavenly Delusion is really good. It's also really creepy. Trying to think the new Konosuba spin-off movie, Megaman's Explosion, an explosion on this world. I think it's what it's called. What was the other ones? New Doctor Stone, like just simulcast, current simulcast. Well, I guess that does it for me. So, what about you, Sam?
Well, over the course of the past few months, I have watched Jujutsu Kaisen because if I watched Jujutsu Kaisen and reacted to it, Sam299 over here would have to watch Dororo. And then I also watched the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0. And you will be watching Call of the Night once you're done with Dororo.
Yep.
And other than that, I have also been watching Insomniacs after school. I think that's what the title of it's called. Hold on a second. Insomniacs After School. It's a new anime that came out this season. I've been enjoying my time with it. There's only 3 episodes out so far, so yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. Other than television, for movies, I went to go see the Mario movie and had a fun time with it. It's not the best movie. If I am objectively saying anything, criticizing the movie, it's not really a great movie. I probably would give it like, if I was judging it on a movie basis on its own, it's probably like a 5 out of 10. If I'm judging it on the basis of a Mario movie, it's like at least a 7. Like it's a fun movie. That's all I wanted from it. And I also went to see Suzume. Suzume is a movie that goes on for way too long. I think what I liked about it was that if it was just a fun adventure movie throughout the entire time, I would have liked it a lot more than what I came out of it as. As it stands, it's a fine movie. I kind of would recommend it if you like Motoko Shinkai films. And then other than that, I think that's it. I think that's all I've been watching so far. So yeah, that's about it for me.
All right. What about you, CJ?
I don't really have much time to watch really anything. I guess if it counts, I've been watching NHL and NBA playoffs because my job kind of needs me to with that, as well as kind of, I would say, I guess, more or less researching when I'm seeing like other newscasts, whether it be local or national. I've been doing that. But as far as entertainment wise, I think the most recent thing I did was rewatch Arcane. And God, it feels like a long time ago because like there was no Twitch stream on to just be background noise, and I wasn't really doing anything. So I'm just like, oh, well, I don't have to pay attention really to this. I just want to see Jinx. Okay, that works for me. But God, it feels like eons ago since I last rewatched it. But now I just don't really have the time to really have like leisurely and pleasure watching as much anymore. I mean, I guess you could say technically the sporting events do count as that, but I'm more watching it because I want to know what when we're gonna go on for news for it, because I'd rather be prepared than be blindsided, or depending on where I am, I don't want to have the news erupt and I have no idea what's going on. So that's been kind of more of why I've been watching it. But no, other than that, I mean, I just have Twitch streams on in the background as I work, and maybe a YouTube vid or two on some kind of like, I wouldn't say tricks and tips, but more so just to be more refreshers for competitive Pokemon that I've been doing more recently. So
All right.
that's been really it. I'm sorry. I mean I watched.
No, you're
Toonami
good.
No, that's
every
fine.
You're good. You're good.
Just a question, CJ. What team are you rooting for?
for.
NHL.
Oh, honestly, I just want to see good hockey. And thankfully, I've been getting that because I've kind of detached myself from like more of the local teams, what I like them to win, of course, more because I get to focus more on doing newscasts that involve that as opposed to the more dreary and kind of less family-friendly type of newscasts that you can have. So I always enjoy longer runs of the local teams just because it gives my job content. But like for basketball, I honestly despise the Celtics, but like I say, I would love for them to go on a long run just to give my station content. But I really dislike that team. I dislike the only player I like on that team is Al Horford, to be honest. But other than that, like I really don't like that team. And like for the Bruins, I mean, whatever. They had a great regular season, but so did like Golden State, and look what happened when they did that, right? So I'm kind of just like whatever on it. Their recent game actually just ended in overtime. So that, like I said, great game. I love watching those games. 2 of the 4 games that I've watched with the Edmonton Oilers and Los Angeles Kings went to overtime. That's awesome. I love games like that. I watched a random Denver Nuggets Minnesota Timberwolves game, and it was one where Jamal Murray and Anthony Edwards were going shot for shot in the fourth quarter. It was awesome. That's what I generally go for, because I used to care way too much about sports, and it just never felt healthy. And I sadly have that type of unhealthiness with other things that I do, that I definitely need to work on, and I think I've been doing better with it. But I'm just a consumer of just wanting to have a good product when it comes to sporting events, because when it's not fun to watch and it's just like drag and you're just like nah. So I like I say, am I opposed of the local teams where I'm from continue to win? No, not at all. Like I said, content is content, and that's king. But if like I had to pick, I mean, probably my favorite basketball team is the Portland Trailblazers, honestly. And that's more about Damian Lillard than the actual team. So like what happens when he's gone. So I don't know. So I'm just more about a good product that keeps my interest more than anything. But yeah, no, I've been keeping tabs on that, and that's pretty much it. Not all work and no play really has not been as kind. So not as much fun thing. I think the only fun things that I make sure I do is Toonami, and that's about it.
All right. That's all right. All right. What about you, Joshua?
I've been watching Marco catching up on Toonami, mostly My Hero Academia. Gotta say, this latest season has been pretty interesting. I did miss Toonami last weekend, so I have no idea if there was any episode or not of My Hero Academia.
Yeah, the season ended last weekend. That's a topic we're going to discuss later, though.
Alright, I won't go into too much then, I'll say it back.
Is that it, or is there any more?
Other than that, I did watch the newest episode of The Flash tonight with Stephen Amell returning as the Arrow, aka the Spectre. Said it was a pretty good episode, though I felt they probably could have expanded it into more, the storyline into more than one episode. But other than that, I still think they did a pretty good job with it.
All right. What about you, Steve?
Okay, so for movies, it's pretty much the same as everybody else. Susan May and the Mario movie. I don't think I need to go into any more detail of what's been said already. As for TV, kind of like CJ, just mainly just watching playoffs. Teams somehow both made it this year in hockey and basketball. I mean, the Knicks just won a playoff series for the second time in my life.
Congrats.
And thank you. And the Devils somehow made it, so
For the
very happy
Devils?
Yeah, the Devils, and we're playing the Rangers right now in an insane series.
God damn it.
Yeah. So yeah, that, and of course, soccer as always. Napoli is, my club in Europe. We're one-ish game away from winning our first title in 33 years. And the Red Bulls are the Red Bulls. Just constant disappointment. But yeah, when it comes to anime, once again, it's what haven't I been watching, as always. Just catching up mainly on simulcast, Hell's Paradise, Demon Slayer, you name it, I'm probably much watching it. But I did recently binge a show that really caught my eye that came out last year, but Disney held it forever until like January. Summertime Rendering. I absolutely loved it. I really did. And it is criminal that kept this from us for so long. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, Disney's getting better with the whole anime thing. I mean, heavily in delusion. Despite the first episode being delayed, has actually had a good track record of coming out weekly. But then we leave it to Logan. Logan?
So anime-wise, for once I can actually mention a show that I've worked on because we've announced it. It's just more seasons. I've worked on the next 100 episodes of Sergeant Frog, and let me tell you, that's doing 100 episodes of one show in a month makes you kind of want to kill yourself.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, look, it's an entertaining show in small doses, but 100 episodes in under 30 days is not fun. More power to the people who can marathon that show. And the worst part is, I already know I'm going to have to do this same thing again because there's still 3 more seasons to go.
Oh.
So that's going to be fun. I did finally, now that the dub for season 1 is done, I picked up watching the dub of Gundam Witch from Mercury. I watched the prologue before. I think I just watched it when we did the last podcast, but I decided to wait because there were so many delays with various dubs and just shows in general. Because like the Nier anime,
Crunchy.
I've been wanting to watch the Nier anime, and it started and then it went on pause and then it started again, and now it's been on pause again since episode 8, I think, and nobody knows when it's going to resume. So yeah, that's been kind of a thing. But yeah, I did finally watch the first episode of Witch from Mercury. I know season 2 just kicked off, I think, a week or 2 ago. So hopefully the dub for that starts up soon. But
thanks, Crunchy.
If it doesn't, then I just have to wait. Same as a bunch of everybody else. I saw John Wick. I saw Shazam 2, which I actually liked. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Shazam.
Yeah. I saw the Mario movie. And basically what everybody else said was pretty much the same thing. It's a decent enough movie that's it's fun for a Mario movie. I I'm not that picky because I liked the 1993 movie. So what does that say about my taste? Trust the fungus. Otherwise, about the only other things. Star Trek Picard wrapped up the season finale last week, and while I'm sad to see it go because it actually made up for the god awfulness that was season 2, it ended on a very high note, and I'm hoping that they'll do something with the way they ended it because it left a lot up in the air for potentially making another show. So we'll see what they do there.
Is it Michelle Yeoh starring in like a Star Trek spinoff?
Well, so there's she's in the Section 31 movie. She was in Star Trek Discovery for several seasons, and then her character got sent back in time or some shit. I don't really remember because I'm not a huge fan of Discovery, but it was originally going to be a spin-off show. Then they were talking about a mini-series. Then she won that Oscar, and it was like, okay, she's going to be way too hard to nail down for Star Trek for long term. And so when they announced, they're like, oh, it's going to be a Paramount Plus movie special. We're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I'm just, Star Trek wise, I'm just waiting for Strange New Worlds to start up in June. So I don't know what I'm going to do on Wednesday nights other than work now. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, pretty much, the usual that I have on in the background when I'm working is watching Grand Theft Auto 5 roleplay on Twitch, and that's about it.
Since you put up, I must say, Gundam Witch from Mercury, that is probably the first Gundam series that I truly enjoy. I have to say it. Like, I have not really enjoyed a lot of Gundam series, but this one, finally, I like a Gundam series.
Alright then, so I guess we should start talking about our topics now. Last podcast we mentioned how because at the time Made in Abyss and Yashahime ended, and we were delaying the last podcast waiting to see what was coming after, only to find out that it was going to be Double My Hero and a crossover, the One Piece crossover. And at the time we were like, well, we don't know what's after. Like, a lot of us were assuming that, something had to come, and something did, but there was also something confusing. But let's talk about the first thing, and that is we have another show returning, and that is Food Wars for its 5th and final season. Food Wars Season 5, or as I like to call it, another season of the horny cooking show. So yeah, Food Wars. I know a lot of people were saying that the 5th season isn't that great, that it was better if they ended at 4. And I can clearly see why a lot of people say this is fan fiction.
Hi, I'm people.
I mean, I'm still enjoying it. The one thing that I enjoy most when Food Wars airs on Toonami is not so much the show itself, but getting Andre to tweet it. Because then my bat comes out of retirement.
Oh Lord.
I mean, but I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I can see, why people call it why Steve the people call it fan fiction, but I'm still it's just it's another season of the horny cooking show to me. But what does everyone else think about it?
I must say though, getting on, Andre's a busy man working for NBC. We are lucky if he even live tweets once.
and thank God it's Food Wars.
Aye.
Pick your battles.
Dear Lord. Food Wars Season 5. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of didn't want this show on Toonami after watching it, but at this point it's kind of like beggars can't be choosers. So especially with the way Toonami's been lately, we'll take anything.
I mean, I guess it's nice. I guess it's nice that the show's finishing its run on Toonami. That's nice.
Yeah.
At least, I guess. But
that's.
I would have been fine with them just saying, season 4. Yeah, okay, Crunchyroll, you can hold on to season 5 then.
But yeah, it's nice to see Food Wars back on the block again, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the season. Especially because you guys know how big the cast is with the show. They love being with us during Toonami nights. So it's great seeing the interaction with the cast and the fans throughout when Food Wars is airing.
I never see that big of a turnout with other shows on Toonami. It's always
really
Food Wars.
Anything really involving Sentai really gets that big a turnout from casts. But that's the only nice thing I'll say about Food Wars Season 5.
Anyone else got anything to say on Food Wars?
I mean, it's nice that they've got more content for the block, considering some of the stuff we're going to be discussing shortly. It's any content at this point is good news. Even if it's not exactly the most exciting or the best of seasons, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
All right. What about you, CJ? What are your thoughts on Food Wars?
Well, I am very conflicted. Food Wars used to be one of my favorite properties, so much so that it actually got me to read it. I remember watching the first season. I was like, this is really cool. I started reading it, and then I kept reading it, and like the manga was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it until we hit this arc. I did not enjoy reading it. And sadly for me, with the show as a whole, I want to say probably after season 2, I really disliked how it's been adapted. I'm going to rewatch it because I want to try to pinpoint when it started to kind of fall off for me, where a lot of the things were going way too fast. A lot of the stuff was not being as fleshed out or allowing viewers to enjoy. And I kind of equate it like cooking, where you need to let a dish that you're making, be heated for the right amount of time, settle for the right amount of time. Because if you do it too fast, it's not going to come out right. And I think that's kind of a problem that Food Wars, the anime, has had. And there could be a laundry list of reasons why, where like during turnovers, whether it be back in Japan and whatnot, or the different episode counts. So it's like the studio wasn't even sure how long each season was going to be, because that's always been so weird to me, especially due to how popular that it still really is, despite any like missteps that it might have had, whether it be anime, manga, or whatever. So that always felt weird. There was an OVA that we'll probably never see, although I thought that with the Toriko One Piece thing, and look what happened. So who knows on that front. But it's just, there's a lot of, and it was like really important viewing for it, for the show as a whole too.
Yeah.
So it was just really weird. And so when things are going too fast, especially for a show like this, it doesn't help at all, because it's not a typical shonen where you can have these fast action-packed battles, or kind of like these moments that like you really don't need to dwell on. But remember, this is about cooking. You kind of need that for this type of show. And one of Food Wars' biggest strengths, especially when it first was hitting the scene with anime fans, was a lot of the mundane things that were made more intense due to how it lingered. One of my favorite moments was when Soma got to cook off against Alice for the first time. And she slowly saunters into the room, has that very Cheshire Cat type of sneer at Soma, like he doesn't stand a chance. And it's those types of moments that made Food Wars really special, because it wasn't just her in that instance. That was its thing, because it doesn't have the same type of fallback plans that like a Dragon Ball Z has, or like a Demon Slayer has, Black Clover, My Hero Academia, these kind of things. What makes Food Wars very, very entertaining, and obviously the shock value with the foodgasms, yes, but a lot of things that I think a lot of people don't really look at because of those foodgasms is a level of detail when it comes to the food itself, as well as the characteristics of every character, because everyone is very unique. And I think that uniqueness is lost the further along we get, because there's just so many other characters that get thrown in. But everyone has these distinct features that were enhanced when you're looking, and like a lot of that shine kind of fell off. And I'm being much more tame just because I'm a guest on someone else's podcast as opposed to the one that I usually frequent. But it's very frustrating as someone who really, and like maybe it's just a phase of me getting older where it's like the longer you stick with something, the more disappointed that it isn't like the old days, I guess. Although not every show's like that. Like Assassin's Classroom still holds up for me. Black Clover does. My Hero kind of fell, but like I'm still sticking with it, so it's not necessarily like, you know, there's always bits and pieces of like that. But for me, it's just Food Wars. It's too fast, and like this latest arc and what fans are going to be seeing too is just like a very odd concept that's just kind of thrown in, and I just didn't like the direction that Totsuki goes in with how all of a sudden Erina is now the headmaster of Totsuki. It's like, what? You know, Soma's now the #1 seed. It's like, I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting if you kept the old Council 10 like still there, and then on a much more even footing instead of pitting them against each other when you know the outcome is going to end up being Soma winning from the previous season. Because to me that took a lot of the appeal, and I know the MC, you know, syndrome where it's like, oh, they always have to win. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like it would have been a little more interesting if you pitted them against these amazing chefs, like we're going to see Skasa again, and it not being a very dire situation to where you could have Soma falter a little, or you know, anyone falter, because if they did when Central took over, well, that's the series, it's over. You know, so it's like, so you kind of know it's going to turn out that way. So I'm wishing that they could have gone at least in a little different to add a little more, sorry for this bad pun, flavor to it, but it's more so in a sense,
fun, man.
It's more so in a sense for me with Food Wars, where I'm just a lot more disappointed just because of how it goes too fast, doesn't let things settle, and then like the direction the later chapters kind of went through. But like you guys were saying, I will take it, absolutely take it with the state that Toonami's in, and for the fans out there who don't care and like are just here for the ride, I'm happy that you're able to have this show concluded on the block that you love. Like that is fore and foremost the most important thing. I just have a different opinion on the show itself, and that shouldn't change how you feel about Food Wars. I was a diehard of the franchise. Like I was very much on the front lines trying to get it on Toonami. It just kind of sucks how things turned out toward the end, and you know, things like that happen.
Yeah, and I really agree with you there, because what I liked about Food Wars from the beginning was that it was kind of like combining shonen action with like Iron Chef style competition, and that's something that appeals to me 100%. But as the series kind of progressed, the emphasis on the Iron Chef part of it kind of dwindled in favor of more of like the shonen bombastic stuff, and that kind of clashed a lot more with what I liked about it from the beginning, and kind of why I fell off after season 3. So that's where I feel like the show has kind of faltered for me a bit, and why I haven't really been particularly interested in continuing onwards.
Like I like the shock value of the Foodgasms because it's wildly different, right? Like you see that first episode and it's like, wow, oh wow. And you understand why they did it that way, because obviously it's going to grab your attention, but there are people who can resonate with like, yeah, when I've had a good meal, you're like, yeah, it kind of feels like that, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that there was a nice little ebb and flow with that type of portrayal. But now it just seems like it's like you just see like Soma chopping up something really fast, throw the dish right in front of the judges, and then their clothes explode, right? Like
I think that gimmick kind of overstays its welcome at a certain point. Like it's neat the first few times that you see it, but once it goes on throughout the series, you have to like really either go all out and be very shocking, or you have to find new ways to introduce ways to kind of like say like this dish is absolutely mind-blowing or delicious, because the whole shock value and purpose of those foodgasms were to be visual treats, but also to showcase off like how visually appealing and tasting the meals are. But that loses its luster after a while.
It just seems like it's a oh sorry go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things you kind of mentioned that, you know, it's the whole ramping up of the stakes, you know, trying to go towards that shonen angle. I saw somebody was commenting on an unrelated show, but they were talking about how it felt like the show had lost what made previous entries good, in that the show focused on the drama of the episode rather than needing to constantly increase the stakes. Like you could do good character drama. You didn't have to have some evil overarching villain and all this crap. Your characters could carry the story, and like the comparison to like Iron Chef, that's exactly what lost me, was losing that whole thing. It's like you can make interesting drama out of just these kids going to school at a culinary academy and having these cooking battles. Like there was a lot of interest there. You didn't need to suddenly turn it into this we've got to save the world. And I mean, I know it doesn't really go that far, but it's like it feels like that. And I think that's what lost me with it, was you're too worried about what's the next big step. And that's fine for a Dragon Ball or a My Hero Academia or a Demon Slayer. Like those kind of shows are designed for, okay, we beat the big bad guy, but oh man, there's an even worse guy out there. We got to go after that. That's fine. You don't need to do that in a show about a cooking school.
Yeah, and I've been rewatching Iron Chef, and those battles are still amazing. You still see like the tension in like the kitchen between all the chefs and the sous chefs. Like they're stretching to like reach the final goal of their meal, and getting to that final part where they're just putting together things at the last second is just so rewarding to see. And just seeing like the judges' reactions to everything. Like you could have just done that for the entire show, but they just throw that away after a certain point, and it's just not great afterwards.
No, and you can add competitions that aren't like ridiculous, like what we're seeing right now, like a chainsaw and a guillotine. Like really?
Yeah.
Like that seems so silly. Like before, you'd see like Aldini's actual like utensils that are used, and it's like, yeah, this is something that's real. It's plausible. Instead of like, oh, we have to just like really think of something absolutely outside the box that no one would ever see coming, just to add more shock value, because that's what kind of the series turned into. And you don't need all these like stakes of, oh my god, we have to stop this, we have to save this, we have to save the school, things like that. You could just have like Soma trying to like not only climb to be the top seed in a more legitimate fashion instead of just the way that it went down at Central, and then like have him like try to earn Michelin stars, go to like be an apprentice of like another really renowned chef kind of thing, or like even Gordon Ramsay, for God's sakes, something along that.
And like the thing with Food Wars from the beginning is like when you saw the beginning, like it was never a guarantee that someone would win per se, but it would be an experience for him to kind of get better at his skill at cooking, because he was raised at like making like culinary food, but not like fancy culinary food, just like home restaurant style stuff. And throughout the course of the series, he's learning how to make like actual dishes, something that I feel like there were battles in season 1 that had a lot of tension, that were built up, and that you didn't know what the outcome would be of these characters. When you get later into the show, it's becoming very clear, like, oh, okay, Soma's main character syndrome. Okay, well, he has to win because of X, X, and Y, which I think
protagonist powers is what they call it.
Yeah, which I think is so uninteresting, because you don't have to have Soma win everything. He can still lose, because we can still relate to him as a human being, because human beings, fail. They try again, they get back up and try to do better next time. And that's that's sort of the thing that Food Wars lost in like the later seasons, as they tried to focus more on, here are all more characters, here are more foodgasms, here's this, here's that. And it's like, you didn't need all that. And I think by where we are now, it's just, I'm glad it's finishing its run. It's nice that it's on Toonami, but at a certain point, I feel like the mangaka kind of just ran out of ideas and just was like, okay, well, here we are.
And Sam, who won the Autumn Festival? Remember that arc? It wasn't Soma. I love that arc, and that's kind of what you're talking about with the main character syndrome. It wasn't there for that. We actually got to see Soma not take first place. Wasn't it refreshing?
Yep.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I'm terrible at like explaining my thoughts like when it comes to like shows and all that. But like I felt you all there, just completely off the rails near the end. But I mean, you know, like Logan was saying, content's content at the end of the day with, you know, with the way Toonami's been. One other thing I want to say real quick, kind of unrelated, but at the same, so like, I don't know if you've all like read it, but like recently the creator of Food Wars put out a new story, like a new manga, called like Tenmaku Cinema, I think it's called. I just dubbed it the nickname Movie Wars. But it's like 3 chapters out right now, but it's actually really good, really interesting, and 3 chapters in, and believe it or not, no shocky fan service. I was surprised.
I feel like that would be really hard to do with movies, because movies are not the same experience as like getting food. Like, you can go out and see a good movie, but it's not going to be like the same experience when eating food.
What kind of movies? This is very important.
Yes, actually, yes. What type of movies are we here?
I mean, like, without saying too much, in case y'all are curious, it's like the main character who's a knockoff Soma. I swear to God, if you look up the first color like page, like look up this story, and literally look at like the first page of it, and the guy literally looks like a knockoff Soma.
I might resubscribe
like,
to Shonen Jump just to read this, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, I think you also get like the latest chapters for free or whatever, and since there are 3 chapters, and I think you shouldn't need to pay. But anyway, so the guy's like a movie critic, movie fanatic. He's like in school, and like he like some ghost, like who like the ghost of a former like movie writer or whatever, like haunts him or whatever, and it sounds insane, but like it's still pretty interesting. Is that like the ghost like can't pass on unless he gets his last like script out the door or whatever. So like he wrote the script, but he needs the kid to direct it. And like then the kid like has to recruit like his friends in the club, but also this super popular girl who's like also an actress that goes to the school, and like everyone of course is like, you like, look at her, she's so beautiful. It's like, and then, you know, it was like, you can't get her to join, she's too busy, too popular, and things like that. And I'll leave it there. Like that's the best summary I can give it without, you know, going in depth. But seriously, check it out. It's actually pretty good. Like, I'm surprised. But yeah. So I guess we should move on to our next topic. We'll discuss more of Toonami's schedule later down. But so some news came out. This was actually kind of shocking. So a while back, it was announced that there were 2 shows that were being produced. A new show by Gendy Tartakovsky. You know, everyone loves Gendy Tartakovsky. Dexter, Samurai Jack. Oops, it's all primal. We'll get more on that later. But Gendy Tartakovsky has a new show on the way called Unicorn Warriors Eternal. For the longest time, this was announced to be an action show that was going to air on Cartoon Network. And then I remember the news of it just became silent. Like a lot of people, I remember a lot of people wondering, is this thing still happening? And then out of nowhere, freaking Adult Swim, like this was literally a leak. Adult Swim, like TV, just aired a promo of the show, and it's like premieres May 4th at midnight, and everyone like got caught off guard. Eventually, press release came out that this show that was meant for Cartoon Network is going to be moving to Adult Swim. And it is going to air May 4th, which is a Thursday, at midnight, and it will have encores on Toonami at midnight. It's getting a lot of chances to be aired. Like, it's playing at midnight Thursday, then Friday it's going to be like airing in the new 7 p.m. hour.
Be on HBO Max.
That Adult Swim played, and HBO Max.
Excuse me, it's just called Max now?
Yes, thank you, Warner Brothers. That's not going to be fucking confusing.
It hasn't been rebranded yet, so we're still calling it HBO Max. So yeah, that got announced, but it wasn't just Unicorn Warriors Eternal, but another show that was once again being produced for Cartoon Network that got moved to Adult Swim called, I forgot the exact name. It's like My Adventures with Superman or On Friends with Superman.
My Adventures with Superman.
My Adventures with Superman. This one a lot of people didn't know about. Like, well, not didn't know, but like there wasn't that much on it. Like Unicorn Warriors, we have like a whole promo, like and what it looks like now. Superman, like they just say it's in the summer, and we got like a 15-second teaser of it. So I mean, it looks interesting. And hey, finally for the first time in God knows how long, DC content on Toonami that isn't just a one movie night. But anyway,
night at Harley Quinn.
But let's talk about the first show, Unicorn Warriors Eternal. How do y'all feel about it?
Well, to clarify a bit, the show it was originally for CN, but it was for CN's Acme Nights. It's still going to air on Cartoon Network, part of Acme Nights Sundays, so it's having plenty of chances to rerun. So it's going to be nice that this is probably the first time that I think Cartoon Network is doing cross-promotion with Adult Swim, and Adult Swim doing cross-promotion with Cartoon Network since I think Star Wars The Clone Wars in 2009, I think. So, and this is probably going to be the same case with Superman. Superman's likely going to premiere Thursday nights at midnight, then premiere on Max the following day, and then it's probably going to air at 7 p.m. on Friday, and then Toonami midnight, then move over to 7 p.m. Sundays on Acme Nights on Cartoon Network. So that show's probably going to get as many chances as well. So I'm looking forward to Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I will probably email somebody from PR to see if I can request the screen, but we'll see on that. I love Gendy Tartakovsky's stuff. He makes great shit. Hopefully this is really good. From what I've heard from people who have seen the first episode, they're blown away by it, which is incredible because I was blown away by Primal. We'll talk about that later. But I've been looking forward to this ever since it was announced in, I think it was 2020, which at that point was like, what? Like it was so surprising to me.
It was 2020.
It was surprising to me because Primal was still in production at that time, and Gendy was already in contract work with Sony for a couple movies, which we should probably be hearing about sometime soon-ish for those. So how he manages to sleep is beyond me. But hey, if he is constantly working and making great shit, I don't care.
All right. What about Steve or Logan?
Yeah. Gotta be careful with my words here because Primal. But anytime we get something from Gendy, it's gonna be good. Gendy, I've loved all of his works. Samurai Jack, Primal, etc., etc. So,
Bionic
Titan, of course, great show. So, just from the trailers alone, and even if it wasn't Gendy, just trailers alone, I'm really excited for this. Truly am. And as for Superman, it's nice having the Man of Steel back on the block. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait, guys. But I thought Superman was overrated.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yo, DC and Warner Brothers. If we're putting more DC content on Toonami, please put Young Justice on there. Just put it out there.
Please. But yeah, having Superman back is, it's great. It was part of the original block, wasn't it? Like, back 97. Yeah.
Yeah, Superman the animated series, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was the Flesher shorts.
Well, it was the Flesher shorts, and I believe Superman the animated series later down the road. I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, but either way, it's glad to have Superman back on Toonami. It's an OG, it's a Toonami OG, despite of what some people say. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but
yeah,
watch his ass. Let's
but
go.
In the words of Jose Mourinho, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
Joshua, I don't know if by any chance, I know you've been out for a while, but have you seen the trailer to this at least, or seen any of the news?
I've just a few minutes ago read the press release for Superman and watched the teaser trailer. I have not read or watched anything for Unicorn yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but both these shows are actually going to be Encore on Toonami, right?
Yes.
Yes.
They premiere on Adult Swim first, then they syndicate on Toonami later.
I don't get that, but I get it. Beggars can't be choosers.
They did the same with Primal too.
I don't
And
know.
that was Kennedy. And I'm assuming it's the same thing with Unicorn. But
Not really, because Superman is going to be airing on Adult Swim proper, so I have no clue. Maybe this is a network decision. I have no clue.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Primal, that was Kennedy's decision, right?
We don't know. We're just speculating on that. So
All right. Well, anyway,
He wasn't a fan when Samurai Jack last season was lumped with Toonami. That's all we know.
yeah, but again, like, does he make schedules with Adult Swim? Does he have contracts with Adult Swim? This can't air here. I don't know. We can speculate all we want, but I have no clue.
that's I won't say too much about Unicorn. But Superman, I feel it might just be me, but I feel it's kind of out of place on Adult Swim proper compared to that on Toonami. But I mean, I don't know why they just don't premiere it on Toonami. Has it even been announced when it's actually going to premiere? I know they said this summer.
Summer?
No.
I would assume sometime after Unicorn Warriors Eternal ends. So probably late July-ish.
Do we know how many episodes is Unicorn Warriors?
10.
10?
10 episodes. We don't know how many episodes Superman is. Sketch made a guess that it's 13. I'm guessing it's also 10 because it was originally greenlit by Cartoon Network and they normally just greenlight 10 episodes.
10 episodes is honestly a pretty common thing I've noticed in a lot of animated series lately.
It's probably cheaper to produce 10 episodes than it is 13 these days.
Well, in a lot of studios, they're pulling that BS where they actually will order 20 episodes and call it a season.
Yeah,
and then they air 10 episodes, and then here's season 1, part 2, because the animators unions, apparently you get like a raise when it's renewed for a second season. So they split up the actual broadcast, 10 episodes one year, 10 episodes the next. But they're like, oh no, it's still the first season. It's like, that's some bullshit.
That is
totally
Hollywood. Oh my god, I never realized that.
No, yeah, Netflix does that a lot. I remember when Cuphead was coming out that they said they ordered a season and it was like 20 episodes, I think, and then they dropped the first 10, and then like a week later they're like, "Good news, guys! Season 2 is confirmed," and everyone's like, "Yeah, no shit," because it said it was 20 episodes, and then everyone got mad because it's perfect example of what Logan said, like pretty much avoiding the union.
Some Hollywood bullshit.
Again, I don't know why they don't premiere it on Toonami.
Maybe it's a thing where it's because it's premiering on HBO Max/Max now. It's probably like, hey, maybe they're looking at Fridays as like a better premiere slot for it to air, because they're probably banking on the fact that multiple viewers will probably be going to HBO Max/Max for those shows rather than syndicated broadcast or broadcast premieres. So that's a guess on my end. I have no clue.
That's a good point. Like I said, beggars can't be choosers. I am definitely glad we're getting DC content on the block. I'm glad we're finally getting new DC content on the block, technically speaking. And hopefully this will open doors in the future for more DC content to air on the block.
Same.
CJ, what do you have to say on this news?
I mean, not much, just because I don't really know what to expect. The only thing I can say is that from the trailer I saw, I liked the robot with the hat that was copying that dude with the hat. I was like, oh, they're little hats. But I mean, I'm not the biggest Gendy person, although Primal really did change a lot of that because I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best forms of entertainment for animation ever. I mean, Samurai Jack, obviously, I like the original 4. The 5th one didn't really hit me as much, so I'm just kind of meh. I mean, again, glad it happened, wanted it after it was announced, like, cool, but it just didn't feel the same. And then like I look back at like Dexter's Lab and I'm like, yeah, that's some good shit kind of thing. So I've been more mixed overall, but you know, I'm excited to see how this goes. And as far as the Superman show, I'll check it out. I have no real feelings toward it, I guess. I guess I'm a bit more jaded with DC stuff because I'm more of a fan of like the stuff from, or like the animated quality of like Batman Beyond, Teen Titans, and Young Justice. So I'll be interested to see if this could kind of capture that type of feel. And obviously, I do have I do really like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Batman and Superman animated series as well. You know, like the obvious one that almost like I feel like I don't have to say, but I do, just in case of some, you know, Redditor is like, CJ doesn't like these shows. It's like, oh, okay, listen, those goes without saying. Those are literally timeless classics. Please. So so for me, I'm just kind of meh. And to be fair, I'm kind of meh on like everything entertainment wise, really. So it's not like a specific all the shows that Toonami's getting. And to be fair, Toonami hasn't been getting a lot of things that I've been liking anyway. So I think obviously My Hero is a little different. I know we'll talk about that. So like that's at least something where I'm like, yeah, awesome. But like Food Wars, The Promised Neverland season 2.
We do not speak of that here.
There is no season
There's a
2
season
Promised
2 of
Neverland.
That doesn't
Season 2
Boston
of One Punch
say.
Man?
So it's just like lately I just haven't really been a big fan of a lot of stuff on the block, and it's just like, I'm glad other people find enjoyment of it, because I don't honestly feel like Toonami's really catered for my likings anymore, which again, that's you grow old, you know, things change, it's not a big deal. But I have really no real strong opinions on anything of those yet. Like I didn't have a strong opinion about Primal because I just never watched it, and then all of a sudden it's on Toonami and I was like, holy crap, this is insane.
So
it was awesome.
So you didn't see Primal when it first came out? You saw it when it ran on Toonami?
Yep, Toonami was the first. Was when I first saw it, and it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm boycotting because it's not on Toonami. I
like
don't
a
have
certain
the
other
time.
individual.
Well, right, but I just don't have time.
Yeah.
And so,
I
like,
feel that.
at least with when it's on Toonami, I help out with social media stuff. So it's like I have to watch. If I didn't have to help out with that, I'd be in bed. I would watch My Hero Academia and stuff, but I'm in bed. You know, I haven't really been like, oh, I can't wait to keep staying up for Toonami since Black Clover left, because that was on later, right? So like, I just don't really have the time. So when it comes to like watching anime, when it comes to watching like Adult Swim shows, I value the sleep that I can get, because I don't get home till about like 1 a.m. anyway.
Oh Jesus!
Oh, God.
So yeah, no, I work from about 3 to midnight, and it takes me about 45 minutes to get home from Boston. So I just don't have the time, and so when I get up, it's like, oh, okay. I get up, I try to like, you know, make sure I'm getting everything done, whether it be work related or faithful related, or even just like if I'm getting close to a tournament prep, because I'm spending money on that, like I'm investing into that, so that does take priority for a lot of things. So I'm not able to see it, or a lot of stuff. And there are some shows where I'm like, oh, I should probably check that out, and then I just forget because other things kind of just take up. Like Steven was mentioning the summertime rendering. So many people are like, you need to check it out, it's like Ray Zero, only better. And I love Ray Zero, and I'm like, oh, I need to see that then. That sounds awesome. And I still have yet to see it because I just don't really have the time to spare for other stuff. So
Honestly,
yeah,
I feel that. The only reason why I was able to watch it because I had 1 week off. And I just binged it. The whole thing.
Oh, that's good. So like for me, like getting to experience Primal for the first time on Toonami, I mean, was awesome, just because like it made for good content for the podcast that I'm usually frequenting, but just because everyone else has already seen it, really. I was very late to the party, and again, not because I was boycotted, it's just, again, time wise. But like the last show I've ever binged was when Arcane actually debuted, and like, God, that feels like it was before COVID. Right? So like I just don't have that type of feeling for shows anymore, kind of thing. So I'm excited for Unicorn Warriors Eternal just because it's new. And it looks, interesting. All of a sudden, like the greatest villain, as they were cutting it, looks to be a fox. I'm like, what? So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that's how it is. It's just the way they cut it. So I was like, oh, that's funny. And like Superman is just kind of whatever. If I had to pick like a DC superhero that I'd want, like a show, and besides Young Justice, because that would be first. I would, I would probably wouldn't mind like a reboot of Batman Beyond, honestly, because I just effing love Batman Beyond. So like I was watching old clips on Twitter. Actually, someone was showing like old Twitter clips. Like, man, they don't make American action like they used to, and they showed that. I was just like, damn right, son. Those are fantastic episodes. The fights in that show were fantastic. So you want my attention, DC? You got to do stuff like that. Although I did enjoy the Wonder Woman movies. Those are actually fun. I don't generally stay up for movies, but I forget why I stayed up for those. But those were nice. I like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was a Wonder Woman movies.
We're going like years ago, kind of thing. It's just like DC, because like I didn't really care about the Harley Quinn show. It was like whatever. A lot of the other, like the more recent DC films, I was kind of meh on.
Pretty much like anytime like a new DC big budget thing is happening, like a movie or a show, there's going to be some sort of promotion for it on Toonami. Like I'm expecting something Flash related.
We're totally getting Flashpoint.
Oh, we are so getting something Flash related.
But yeah, no, I do feel bad that I just don't really have any like. I'm going to say this as more comical reasons, like visceral reactions, as I'm known for those types of things. I don't have it for these two.
That's okay.
That's fair.
We'll get it at the end of it, right? Because, like I said,
I mean, like who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe these two shows could blow us away. That's the thing. We don't know anything about it.
I was gonna say we know little to nothing about Unicorn Warriors Eternal. It could be great for all we know. It could be horrible for all we know. We don't know yet.
No, we got steep competition because for Western animation, Arcane, Invincible, and Primal are like god tiers. So these two shows have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, if Primal was any indicator about how this show could possibly be, because I keep telling my friends, Primal was probably the best American animated show I've seen since Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's
Preach. That's a high mark because Avatar is a great show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I really loved Primal, and I'm looking forward. If I had a fantasy league, I would put all my money into Gendy right now because it's it's like putting money against James Cameron. Like, come on.
Gendy always delivers gold.
Yeah, I just watched the trailer for Unicorn. I gotta say, it looks pretty awesome.
All right. Well, I guess that's enough talking about Unicorn Warriors and Superman. So our next topic is so another show on Toonami recently came to an end. Well, not an end, but more like a season. So My Hero Season 6 came and went. We'll talk about like the scheduling for it like in our next topic, but pretty much just to discuss the season as a whole. I remember when Season 5 ended, Steve and Silver were all like, oh man, next season's gonna be great. Ha 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 ha. They're crying on the inside, and I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. And the way Season 5 ended is like, this is about to be a war, isn't it? Oh boy, war arcs always where shit goes down. So like, I'm already like, oh man, here we go. And spoiler alerts, by the way, like whoever hasn't seen My Hero Season 6, this will be a spoiler discussion. It's been out for a while anyway, even past Toonami.
At this point, it's been on Toonami. Yeah. You've probably seen it by now.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Wait, so, there's a Season 6?
So like the whole thing with the war is like they're making this big thing of it's coming is that Deku having a rematch with Shigaraki. It was bound to happen at some point, and yeah, it happened. Like that whole war, like I was really invested in like the thing with Shigaraki and eventually Deku coming, having a them having a clash once more. Like and Shigaraki just becoming like extremely overpowered, like and that whole sequence where like Bakugo is now like trying to like I don't know the right word, like atone for like his sins or whatever to Deku, like, you know, taking a shot to the gut for him, like Deku having like that whole rage moment, and then, you know, like one for all and all for one, like and his quirk evolving, but of course like so like so another thing was that the whole Dabi reveal did, like, I never read the manga, I was anime only, but when that reveal happened, I was like, I'm not surprised, because I kind of saw it coming, like in season 5, like, oh, like he shouted his real name, like Dabi shouted Endeavor's real name, and then, oh, they mentioned a dead brother, and then they show like a picture of him, and I'm instantly like, that's Dabi, I already know that's Dabi. So then when Dabi like revealed it, I was like, yeah, freaking knew it. So I wasn't like shocked when that happened. I was more like I was right. But that's still insane. Also, Endeavor is so #Endeavor is over party.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for that hashtag.
So yeah, that was insane. Like the whole war. Like yeah, shit. Like stuff happened. Like a lot. Like things will never be the same after, and like one of the things that I knew that was going to happen after, because like a cousin of mine who reads the manga was like telling me, he was like, oh man, you're going to get to the Vigilante arc, you're going to see Vigilante Deku, he's going to be like Batman, all that. And I was like, oh great, so I know Deku's about to be a Batman. But like the way, like my only disappointment, and I don't know, like it's probably just me, is that I would have liked to have, because I knew it was a thing, but I thought he was like they're gonna be like that longer. Like I don't know, I just like I see him going into this like I'm leaving the school moment, and like, you know, like I'm taking care of things on my own, and I wasn't expecting it to get resolved like 5 episodes later.
Yeah.
But like, you know, him essentially unlocking more of the quirks, and the whole fight with what is it, Nagan or Nagan, like that was amazing too. Also, I hope Logan's listening. Lady Nagant.
Ma'am.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and then, you know, like and then like the one of the best moments, I don't know if it's the best episode yet, I still have to think about what the best episode was this season, was like Ochako speaking up for Deku, like, you know, like let this be his hero academy, and this is how we all became the greatest heroes. Like I don't know, I don't want to say this is the best season, like because I don't really think about this too often. I'd have to say the best season of My Hero for me was maybe 2 or 3, or maybe 4, either 2 or 4. Actually, you see, like I have to think about this more, but still, that season was great. Like I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed it more than 5. I wasn't really getting into 5. 5 felt like the entirety of 5 felt like a giant setup for what eventually would happen in 6. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it. So
Yeah.
how are you guys feeling about it?
Yeah, so My Hero's one of the rare series that I actually read weekly. And, you know, obviously I knew it was coming, but to your point, like season 5, it really felt like it drags, especially, you know, class 1A versus 1B. That felt like it went on forever. Like,
Yes, I did not enjoy that.
Yeah, I was like, all right, let's just get this over with. Like, it took forever. And, you know, really going back to the Triple Criminal arc, really. And it really just felt set up for this season in particular. And, you know, the war arc, you know, it's funny. Me and Silver had like an inside joke during this whole thing since we read it. During the second opening of season 5, where they say everything's going to be all right or something like that. Where we would sing, nothing's going to be all right, because we knew it was coming. So, obviously, you know, Shigaraki, now a threat to the Hero Society. and obviously the evolution of Deku. But it's not really the war arc that really jumped out to me. It's what happened after the war arc that really jumped out, when everything, Hero Society completely fell. How the characters were able to handle that, especially Deku. He's got all the pressure on the worlds on him now, and see him just slowly but surely lose his smile, forgetting why he's here in the first place. Just him absolutely broken, and for what I think set up to be arguably the strongest episode in the series, Deku versus Class 1A, where Class A, pretty much saved him, really. Like, that episode really hit emotionally, I'd say. Especially, I didn't think we would hear Yusei run again. Hearing Yusei run again just felt so good. Especially for that scene. It was so well executed. I loved it. I really did. But yeah, season 6, I gotta say, by far, in my opinion, the best season of My Hero.
All right, Sam. I don't know if you don't watch My Hero, do you?
No.
Okay. Joshua, you said you were watching.
Yeah, I think you're mistaken. I feel like, at least in my opinion, that was the season of My Hero Academia. Pretty good season. To me, on a personal level, when Deku went vigilante, like, it kind of hit on a personal level for me because, as you know, I've been the last couple months been dealing with a lot of stuff, and I felt like I had to deal with this stuff on my own, and I didn't want to burden you guys, so I kind of disappeared for a while. And it felt like these episodes this season kind of hit at the right time, at the right moment. And like I said, hit on a personal level for me, made me realize that, I don't have to do everything on my own, that I can let my friends be there for me. Like I said, pretty much that, like I said, for me, it hit on a personal level, the later episodes. But other than that, I really don't have too much to say. I mean, I will say the part where Steven said he feels like they saved Deku's life. I can kind of relate to that because, back in 2018 when I disappeared and had my whole mental health crisis, I felt like you guys saved my life back then. So, I can kind of relate to it to a sense. Kind of into personal for me. But other than that, I guess that's all I really have to say.
There's one thing I forgot to bring up that Sam too originally brought up, which was the Dobby reveal. I mean, yeah, it did feel pretty obvious that it was going to happen, but I feel like the execution of the reveal is what made it as shocking as it was.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you there, especially in the dub. I don't know who plays him, but his actor went like insane when he was going off over and over. Logan, have you watched My Hero season 6?
So I fell off just because of, as usual, lack of time. It's one of those things that I want to sit down and binge. Knowing me, it'll probably take until another movie gets announced before I'll end up binging to catch up. But I mean, I've followed a little bit along with what was going on. It definitely seems interesting. I mean, it's enough that I definitely want to watch it when I have the time. It's just unfortunate lack of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing, was binging it.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like sometimes I can just if I know, okay, I've got X number of episodes, I can carve out the time and just like pick a day after work and just be like, all right, I'm going to come home from work, eat dinner, and then just watch TV for like 6 hours.
CJ, have you watched the latest season of My Hero?
I did. Do the live helping out with live tweets and whatnot with it. I am just sad because the episodes that I weren't able to catch were all of Lady Nagant's. I was very, very sad. I love her. I love her design, and I actually really enjoy seeing the quirk of like. I don't even know what it is, but it's just she can make like barrels like come out of her body to shoot. I was like, that's actually really cool.
She can turn her hair
into bullets.
Ah, got you. But yeah, I thought her whole design is really cool. But yeah, I'm caught up with it enough. I'll probably stick around to make sure I can catch those episodes because I was in Charlotte for her like main debut, and then I got sick, so I was not able to catch the rest of it. So that's done. I enjoy this season. I think the last time I was really like hyped about My Hero Academia was Stain's first introduction, personally. So it takes a lot to really kind of get me back to that level. And it was nice to see him return after Tartarus escaped.
Yeah, I was gonna say with
Stain.
Stain
Right.
coming back at the end of the season too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and like to me, the two characters that I probably enjoy seeing in the show the most is Bakugo and Stain. So it's very awesome that I will not take any more Bakugo slander anymore. And it's something that I have been writing about this and talking about this for quite some time, where it's like people, for whatever reason, weren't seeing the growth. Now, does that mean you completely forgive him? Absolutely not. 100% no. You don't just say, I'm sorry, and then it's like, oh, all is good. No, that's not how the real world works. But what I'm saying is the most important thing is that Bakugo understands what he did was wrong and has resentment towards himself for the actions that he took, which is immense growth that I think a lot of people in the real world could take lessons from. And I think that's a very important thing to learn. And you could even go on the other side of it of how would you react if you were in Deku's shoes? I know I wouldn't be in the best position. I know Deku's a better person than I am for that type of thing, but the lesson is there. And I think that's what I find most important when we see this kind of growth for Bakugo that has been building upon layers upon layers upon layers as each season progressed. And it's been so rewarding to see it in action. And I'm not even talking about when he decides to save Deku from Shigaraki from that near fatal blow. It was that scene where you see all incarnations of Bakugo talking to Deku, and you start to see kind of the phases that Bakugo went through to when up to this point now where like you see the full evolution of from this person who really didn't know how to express his feelings and took on the more anger and angsty kind of thing. And what really kind of saved me towards to kind of not necessarily root for him, but more wanted to see where his path would take were two instances where first he's looking like, a villain as everyone's talking about with the sports festival, but yet he gets kidnapped by the League of Villains and he doesn't join them, even though they see qualities in him that would be perfect for that group, right? And yet he's like, no, F you guys, I ain't no villain, I'm a hero, despite the fact that he generally shows more antagonistic types quirks as opposed to, what people look as heroes.
Yeah,
and then
go point. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, fair point. I feel like that moment was kind of like the beginning of Bakugo's redemption arc, if for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm. It could have been, yeah. And then, of course, you see how he reacted when he saw All Might and All Power. And he's like, you see how he and Deku are literally this two sides of a coin. Someone is a bit more aggressive, obviously, than the other. Kind of like how high-level recruits in college athletics are, where they're more aggressive because they know their talent can take them very far. And then when they start reaching levels where people are just as talented, they're not quite sure how to express it, so they're a lot more aggressive and angry. So you start to see how he was inspired by the same thing that Deku was. It's just that he became more aggressive due to the fact of how popular and touted his quirk was compared to like a lot of individuals. And so seeing that is awesome. And then, moving on to Stain, Stain is literally just anti-hero All Might. And what he did was wrong. Absolutely. I do jest Stain was right. Kind of like how a lot of people who are Berserk fans go, Griffith was right. I get the meme with that. I'm kind of doing it along in a much more PG series compared. But you listen to Stain back when he was first introduced, and the message is actually really, really compelling. Because we see heroes that are doing it for just the fame, the fortune, all that kind of stuff. And of course, back in like episode 2, All Might's like, yeah, you don't see heroes do community service as much, but I love doing it. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, this is great doing it. In essence, what a hero is supposed to be. And Stain kind of just took that obsession and fascination, kind of like how some Toonami fans are with the block with certain things. And he took it to a very, very dark level to where if someone who labeled themselves as a hero weren't the same as All Might, they're considered trash and false prophets. And I very much like to call Stain the Boston sports fan syndrome, where if you're not David Ortiz, if you're not Tom Brady, if you're not Larry Bird, you're garbage. And it's like, Stain, no, just because they're not All Might doesn't mean they're garbage. There's still really good heroes out there. You're telling me Best Jeanist isn't a good hero? Come on now, Stain. And then you see, you know, Stain not only like during the revolt of Tartarus, like actually like get some very valuable and useful information. He hands it to All Might. He reinvigorates All Might. And it's like, what? You're getting a pep talk from a serial murderer who has this naive idealism of how the world should be. And it's so compelling that it's like, this dude really is a hero if he just didn't kill anybody.
I argue Stain is probably one of the most intriguing characters in the entire series. I'd have to argue.
And have you seen Watchmen?
I have not, no.
So, okay, then I don't necessarily want to go too
Which
crazy
one,
on
the
that.
TV show or the movie?
The movie, or
Okay.
even just the comics. Like I read the graphic novel. I'm going more on that. But he's Rorschach, where Rorschach will not compromise even in the face of Armageddon. Stain was someone who will not compromise on his ideals of what true society of heroes should be. And it's valiant, it's gallant, it's all those types of words if he took it in a way that didn't involve the death of others, which is why he's not a good person. But the thing that he represents is just so fascinating, and honestly, I can see why people would want to have a world like that where it's a bit easier to deal with, because it's just black and white. It's not, there's no gray like the real world is. That's why I call it idealism. You know, like, sure, we'd love to have this kind of thing, but that's just not how the world works. But just in that quick little, you know, thing where he shows up again and just like, yo, this is some heat. How is Stain like? Why is Stain still like this? God damn it! Why do I still like? I can't. So to me, it's like that's the kind of what I take from season 6. I think the war was actually kind of dragged on a little too much, because I agree. I wish the vigilante stuff with Deku was a little more fleshed out and a little more, I don't know, had a little more to it, because I felt it was a bit rushed when Class A showed up. And I wouldn't mind having more time, because as much as we all love, you know, Ochaku talk that talk, I think I would have liked it if she had a little more involvement with Deku alone in that arc, or in that kind of phase that he was in, to kind of help shatter it, because it felt more, I felt like I was sold on the fact that it was like really her doing it, when I don't know, I felt like it was more like everybody, which is fine, but like considering how a lot of my gripes with My Hero Academia, it's the Deku Bakugo Todoroki show. I wouldn't mind if like we could have had like Uraraka or Sue or Sero, or you know, just kind of them kind of have a little more alone time to really build breaking through his, you know, his disheveled heart, I guess. For that kind of thing. So it's just, and I don't know, I felt like the war was a bit too long, I guess. I don't know. I felt like the battle with Shigaraki just kind of took a little bit too much time for me, but overall, like, it was a good season. But instead, and Sam, I don't know which So who's Sam 1? Is that
That's me. That's
Yeah,
me.
Okay.
that's him.
So Sam 2 for this.
Easy to remember. Sam 2 with the 299. Just take the 299
Ah,
out.
that is,
And
yes.
Sam
I will
2.
I will remember that. Yeah.
No, he's
I
just a
didn't
clone
even-
of myself, and it went awry. So sorry.
No, it's more instead of thinking like what season was the best, because a lot of arcs get combined. I always go by what was your favorite arc, right? And so when you look at that, what was the story arc that compelled you the most would be your favorite season, because it's like for me that will always be the Stain arc. So whatever season that was in, that will always be my favorite. Just kind of a cheat way to do, especially with such a long series.
I never thought about it like that. I would have to say either Stain or the Yakuza stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, that was really good. I went to Anime Expo to see the premiere of that first episode, and I was like, geez, I got goosebumps. That was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
All right. Anyone else got anything to say on My Hero?
It's a show.
It's a show. Okay, so I would have had this podcast earlier, but it's again one of those situations of I like to wait for schedule updates or news so that we can do these podcasts and not outdate ourselves. So we knew that Unicorn Warriors was coming on May. So here's the thing: was that we knew My Hero was going to end on April 22nd, and we know Unicorn Warriors was going to start on May 6th. But that still left a gap in between. What was the 29th? And it was another one of those cases to where the schedule seems to not be updating even the week of Toonami. We still don't know what's going on. And it's to the point where like, and once again, I hate it when people are doing this. Like, don't harass Jason online. Like, he's a busy man and he's trying to make it the best, like he's trying to make it the best for everyone, but things sometimes are out of his hand.
You
Like
know
I
who
said-
you are, you corncob son of a bitch.
A lot of people like I'll make jokes and tweets that that I express my dissatisfaction for a lot of choices that they make recently, but I'm not like bitching 24/7, and like I understand. But so point is, like, we were wondering, okay, what's the 29th, because we haven't yet to see a schedule update. And Jason even said, he did a Q&A recently, and he said he was pretty excited for what was gonna come. Like, so all eyes were pointing to the 29th. So eventually we did get our schedule update, and what did that schedule update ended up being?
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Speaking
I-
of losing,
I had that saved just for this moment.
I have to ask a question. Is it? I know I haven't watched Toonami in a while, but did the schedule get cut or something? Because I don't know. It looks like it's shorter than what I.
Yeah, so I believe around January or something around that time frame, they
It
cut
was-
the block to 3 hours.
It wasn't January, it was daylight savings.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, also I don't know where Steve went.
He has
But
better
so
troubles with
He
his-
was having technical issues. He said he'll be back.
okay, what was I gonna say? So anyway, so I don't mind if some things need to get reran in order to put a hold on the schedule, but what in God's name? So the 29th, what are we getting the 29th? We get a whole hour of Primal starting the block.
Guess what episode they're starting on? Start. Guess.
It's probably the name of this podcast. You'll see it on the video screen.
They're starting again from the beginning. Let's go.
The beginning of season 2, to be
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah.
I love how they can't even go back to season 1 now. Every time they finish season 2, it's back to the start of season 2. So it is literally like, I don't even get why are you gonna put, you could have just had My Hero again lead, but no, you put Primal 2 episodes of Primal at the top, then like Food Wars, One Piece, ship it in, and then My Hero ends, which freaking blows my mind. And then May 6th was what I expected. Because they said they were going to premiere Unicorn of Warriors with 2 episodes. So in my head, I'm already like, well, okay, well, first hour Toonami is going to be those 2 episodes, and then the rest of the block. So then I'm thinking, okay, so then something new would have to happen after that. No, it's just more Unicorn Warriors at 12, Primal at 12:30, because if you didn't have enough Primal already, and then Food Wars ship it in One Piece, and My Hero ends the block. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Now I do want to say that they do say that there is a show coming, but that they are still waiting. Logan brought this up last podcast, and Jason just the other day kind of confirmed it, to where the Japanese companies love sitting on, like, I forgot exactly, love sitting on important, like,
Sitting on their asses.
like
Basically,
sitting on negotiations until the very absolute last minute. And then Jason too says that, like, yeah, like, we can't give the green light until the Japanese company says it's okay to do.
Yeah.
Announcing something prematurely would land them in hot water and all that. So
yeah, and I'm sure they're incredibly frustrated that they don't have a deal closed yet, and I'm sure they would much rather it be closed now rather than them saying, sorry, please be patient with us, we're still working on it.
Well, and that's the thing is, you get stuck in a really bad position because you can't win. I mean, as a perfect example, our Gunbuster release that's coming up. We announced it because we thought we were in the final steps. We thought we were ready to go, and so we announced, like, hey, it's going to be out in April. And then the Japanese side drug their heels. And there were approvals and stuff that we were still going through, and it just we hit a drop dead date where we're like, there is no way, even if they approved it right now, we cannot hit the April date. It just cannot happen. And that's the thing is, you risk going, hey, we have this coming and we think it's going to start on this date, and then something happens and you have to miss premiering the show and you piss off your audience because of that, or you either you go ahead with, okay, we're putting Primal back on, and they could have told us that 2 or 3 weeks ago, but clearly they were holding out hope that they actually could get to a point where they'd be able to announce it, even if it was really short notice. And then they clearly hit a point where there was just, it was not going to happen. And so they had to go forward with, all right, this isn't what we wanted to do, but it's all we can do. And, obviously Jason's got to be careful because you can't call out your Japanese partners and go, well, it's their fault, they're dragging their heels, because then you just piss them off and then they just go, oh, well, we're dragging our heels. Well, bye-bye deal. So, it's one of those things where you have to tread lightly. And it sucks because you can't win. Like I said, you just, whether you try and announce it and then go, it got delayed, you piss your audience off. You don't announce it and end up having to patch in the schedule, you piss your audience off. You tell your audience that you're getting screwed by the Japanese, you piss the Japanese off. It sucks.
yeah, like, for me, I'm not, mad that, we have to see another schedule delay. I mean, like, unfortunately, after 2 certain companies decided to become one, nothing has been the same since. And, like, at this point, there's only really, like, 2 other anime companies that they can rely on, being Sentai and Viz Media, and that's still kind of shaky too. But, like, I wouldn't mind a delay in the schedule, like, but, like, I'm also just like, why are we continuing with like we joked. We always joke that Primal season 2 ends a rerun. Get ready for more Primal season 2, everyone. But like literally, Sam and Steve made the joke of, "Oh man, guys, can you believe it? They're gonna front load Primal. It's gonna be Primal all freaking like night or whatever." And then they were joking, and it actually happened.
The gift of Apollo give me the gift of prophecy, and I'm just a random internet user just making a shitpost.
Like, and the thing is too is that like, why does it have to be Primal? Aren't there like other shows that they have that they could run? Like, what about Ghost in the Shell standalone complex?
I can give you a little insight for that, believe it or not. I think it's because not only are their hands tied, but it's also in the sense of what they're most comfortable with, in the sense that what viewing habits tend to be with casual audiences. Generally, casual audiences like familiarity, and they like things that have been. And what's been kind of the most familiar thing with Toonami recently? There's been a lot of Primal, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. Is that it is because Primal probably is pretty popular on Adult Swim. Right. I mean, the show has not been canceled as far as we know. It's in a holding pattern with Warner Brothers Discovery at the moment. There's a possibility that they could make more of it, but I would say, like, yeah, it's very possible that they could put Fooly Cooly on, but would Fooly Cooly Progressive or Alternative or even the original Fooly Cooly hold up well even early on in the night? I don't know. I don't see Adult Swim's data. I don't know what Adult Swim's data is. Maybe they've seen in the past when they've rerun stuff that isn't super familiar, the stuff that's been syndicated maybe years ago on Adult Swim, but hasn't been syndicated since. The audience just isn't there anymore for those shows. But the more recent stuff that they've syndicated most, like Primal, maybe that audience is probably more interested in just staying around for those.
And it's more about the casual audience with this type of decision than, say, the diehards like everyone that's on this podcast. The best example I can grab is what my station does. We're playing reruns of Family Feud. And that's like for whatever effing reason, it is popular because A, it's DVR proof apparently. That's not my words, that's what I've been told on that. And second, it's just a familiarity type of show. People love Steve Harvey, the familiarity with the show. People love the show me potato salad. People love the, horny on main type of answers you get on Family Feud, or the dumbass answers and Steve Harvey's, reaction to it. And I think Toonami, just like any station, network, whatever, has that similar type of thing where it's like, all right, we have to play something that A, won't cost us a lot, or B, is something that fans are familiar with, and ideally both. And kind of sadly for us diehard Toonami fans, Primal is what kind of fits the bill right now. Yeah. There is another show, but they don't have it anymore, and that would have been Dragon Ball Super. And I hate to be the I told you so guys, but I kind of told you so, where I think it was a mistake of letting that thing go, especially for how things are turning out now. Well, and while I am happy that Toonami, decided to give it a shot and do it, and probably will, it's just one of those kind of things where clearly they have a better line of communication with Toei. Maybe they should try to looking at Toei a little more for other shows. I don't know, but I think right
Dragon
now
Quest.
I'm down. It's just more so like
if Steve was here, he'd definitely say.
It's more so I think on a familiarity, cheap costs for where they are at the moment.
Oh yeah, and also like the cost of syndicating Primal compared to maybe even their anime programming that they have is probably like comparatively they're paying nothing for Primal right now. It's a freebie. You gotta remember,
Primal's an award-winning show. What do you think has more notoriety with casual fans in the US as opposed to any kind of anime, right? I think that's kind of their thought process, which I don't like, but
I could see probably them saying like, well, there's Cowboy Bebop, but then again, it's like, well, when was the last time they syndicated Bebop?
I feel like Netflix hurt that a little bit too. Not gonna lie with casual fans.
Typically, I mean, like, I don't know how these rights work and all that, but like, I always look at the Adult Swim site, and like, I'm always assuming that like the anime that I see on their website, I'm assuming that they still have to have, right?
Not
they still
necessarily.
like,
It might
have the
be for
ability to air
strictly.
these?
It
Yeah,
might
it
be
might-
strictly for that where you're getting them on demand,
Yeah,
as
'cause
opposed to
it's
being
like-
able to air them on television.
Yeah, because
But they do have them technically, yes.
Sometimes
like-
it's all about the contracts that they sign. Sometimes it's a one and done deal where it's like, okay, we signed the contract. Here you can air it once. If you want to pay us more money to syndicate it, you can do that. They did that with Kill la Kill. It was only a one-time airing, and then they paid Aniplex more money to be like, here, we'll do another syndicated run. Same with Attack on Titan years ago. And
I think Attack on Titan's different because, like, example, on the website you can watch the entire thing.
I think
Well, like-
Adult Swim struck a deal with Kodansha and Pony Canyon for that, because I think all they have. I don't think they can syndicate seasons 1 through 4 again. They probably can. But
They have syndicated like season 1 even well deep in like I remember season 3 happened and like they reran season 1 like all the way in like 2020.
I guess so. I don't know if they still have those, but even still, that's still costing them something to run. If Primal is free, 100%. They own it. They can syndicate it all they want. And it's free. They still have to pay the production companies, the licensors like Crunchyroll and Sony money for syndicating those shows. It's not so clear cut with those types of deals comparatively to something that is completely free to them. Like, I think the Big O is something that they could probably air for free too, because I think that's something that Adult Swim specifically owns.
They only have season 2, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Like, and then one other really confusing thing, because this really makes you think like they had some sort of plan, was doubling My Hero. Like, what? Like, why would you double a show that's like severely limited? Like, you know that there's a finite amount when you have something like One Piece or Shippuden that can afford to be doubled for like especially One Piece. So like.
There's two reasons for that. One, they wanted Unicorn Warriors Eternal to have the midnight slot. That's basically the main reason. Two, they probably thought that they had
You could have had My Hero run at 12:30 still though. Like, that's just me saying, but yeah.
But that's still assuming a lot, because they probably only have My Hero for such a limited time. I don't see contracts. I don't know how long they have My Hero for, but considering they're syndicating it immediately after, it means that they probably have a contract with Crunchyroll saying, hey, this show has to run for this specific length of time. So we're going to get the most out of our money with that contract. So it's probably more of a case of like, hey, here we are. We're going to probably say, we're rerunning My Hero at 2:30. Primal's running at 12:30 for right now. Maybe later down the road, if they ever get something to replace it, which, where I stand right now, Primal is probably staying at 12:30 for the time being. I think that they're going to run it until Unicorn and Primal ends on the same night. And they're probably just going to replace Primal's time slot with Unicorn reruns, and whatever replaces, well, I think Superman will replace Unicorn, so that'll be interesting to see what happens. But I just we don't know what the schedule is, and we don't know what their line of thinking was with doubling up My Hero, but I think they ultimately were hoping to have a deal struck this week. And it's just sad that, they had to come out and say, look, we're sorry, we're still waiting on our partners to agree and for us to say something, so just hold out. We're going to wait until we can say something. And I think that something is just Attack on Titan, and that's it.
I'm imagining there has to be something going on, because like that was almost 2 months ago that came out, and I already know they have to have dubbed it because some of the actors were tweeting like a while back that they worked on it and they were sad and all that. So, and I know like it has to go to Toonami because they got like the first right. So I'm just wondering if there's something going on there. But like one of the other things, and I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nancy because I'm not trying to sound like every other quote unquote Toonami fan on the internet corn cob. But like with the past like 2 years, my assumptions with Toonami are at an all-time low to the point that like I genuinely do not believe we will see like a brand new show join the block. Like the only thing I believe in now are like reoccurring contracts, like new seasons of My Hero, Attack on Titan, maybe Doctor Stone, and like original stuff like Unicorn Warriors, Fooly Cooly, Uzumaki, if that ever happens. Like, but like I just don't see like any brand new like anime anymore at this point. Consider like the last new show that came that isn't an original nor is a returning season or whatever was Made in Abyss, like all the way back in like 2021. And ever since then, it's just been like continuations, like Yashahime, My Hero, trying to think what else, like Lupin. So you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And it might be like that for the future now, and I think that's something that Toonami fans kind of need to at least look at of what is it that they really want from the block, because gone are the days where you can just go on like Amazon and say, Toonami, pick this show, pick that show.
Yeah,
that kind of thing's gone. The identity that the block has kind of built, rightfully so, through its inception to about this time, it's changing, and it's more so in a sense of, can the fans adapt? Because the fans were easy to adapt when it came to, hey, we get our dubs faster, hey, we get our dubs online like quickly with these types of things. They were all for that. When they have to adapt with something that they're not necessarily as thrilled about, well, that doesn't go well, right? It's sadly not a two-way street. So fans and consumers are generally going to keep it as a one-way street, which sucks for Toonami, and that's just
it also really doesn't help that Sony has compounded that issue because they're holding all Crunchyroll content. And it does sound like Jason is talking with the people over at Crunchyroll and Sony, like, hey, can we still work something out? Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
He said,
I don't
know. Someone asked him if they're still like working with them, or like you're reaching some sort of agreement, and he said a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think what I would like to see, and maybe I'll write an article about this, is that I would like to see Toonami kind of reboot what it is, because if it's trying to be the action cartoon block, well, you're going to be limited with what anime you can have. So I would kind of like them to kind of reevaluate what is a Toonami show and what counts as a Toonami show, rather than it being just like, oh, it's just shown in action, or just like this thing here. I'd like them to be all-encompassing and try to get more genres, stuff that's a lot more unique, stuff that's even unique for Adult Swim to run. And they've tried some stuff in the past. I don't know how successful those were, but I'd like them to try more. Horror is a great fit. That's great. I'm glad that they got Made in Abyss, they got Paranoia Agent. Those were great pickups for them. But I'd also like to try, like, why not try romance? Why not try, I don't know, there's a bunch of other shows and genres with anime that you can try.
So you're saying Toonami needs to air Domestic Girlfriend? Let's go!
Yeah.
Have you read Domestic Girlfriend, Sam, too?
I have not read it, but I've watched it.
Let me tell you something. There was a very special arc that friends of mine got to see when I was reading it in real time. Holy cow, that novel changed my life.
I heard there's some good scenes.
It is fantastic. It is great junk food reading manga, and I highly recommend if you like the anime. It is fantastic.
What was I gonna say? No, but like going back to what you were saying earlier, CJ, about fans needing to adapt. So like the thing was, back then, the way I used to handle things was, at the time, Toonami got a lot of new shows. So every time I heard of these new shows that a lot of people were talking about, I'm in my head, I used to be like, oh, well, let me wait for Toonami to air, because most of the time they tend to get these things, like Fire Force, Promised Neverland, One Punch Man, like things like that, like Demon Slayer too. So like, and it started initially when it came to Demon Slayer season 2, because like my mentality used to be, I'll wait for the show to air on Toonami to watch it, and that's how I used to watch a lot of animes. But then it was after like the first, you know, piece of evidence that things weren't good, looking good, when they got blocked from Demon Slayer season 2. You know, like I was like, okay, well, they're not getting Demon Slayer season 2. Let me watch this, and then like you know, pretty much I was on a mission to watch things that they couldn't get because, you know, like Mob Psycho season 2, like I saw the rest of that because I know they couldn't get that, and then eventually, you know, like when it started becoming clear that they weren't getting anything, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to catch these shows on my own because I know for a fact there's next to little chance that Toonami has of these. Like a good example, and I'm about to get laughed at here, Jujutsu Kaisen. That was one show that like I saw like originally like on HBO Max or whatever, because like one of the actors I follow was in there, and I wanted to see, like, you know, him in the show, and I was like, damn, this is so good. Why isn't this on Toonami? Blah blah blah. And that was when Crunchyroll was, you know, slowly becoming dominant and, you know, becoming scary, and like, you know, like, and then the guys still make fun of me to this day. Jujutsu Kaisen's not coming to Toonami. Haha, point and laugh at him.
Yeah.
It's admittedly less funny now that it's like it's definitely not coming.
Yeah.
I got even hurt more when Jason himself confirmed it.
Yeah, like when there was a chance and it was fun to meme, like, haha, it's never coming. Now it's just kind of like, yeah, it's not coming. Like there's nothing about it like that's funny about it anymore.
Yeah, like once the man himself confirmed it, it was just like, oh, damn it.
I think that's just going to be a thing moving forward.
But yeah, just shows in general, like. Yeah. A lot of people want Chainsaw Man. A lot of people want Spy Family. And the unfortunate thing is too, is that like when it comes to a lot of new animes that come out, you just have to hope and pray that like when they come out, that they don't fall victim to the three biggest corporations, Netflix, Crunchyroll, or Disney now, because apparently Disney's making strides in that, like or Amazon, because I guess Amazon to an extent. But like I don't know. But like the only two companies that you would have to hope for is maybe like Sentai or Viz Media. And Viz Media is still a stretch, because where's Bleach? That's in Disney jail too. Even though Viz Media has that, it still went to Disney and Hulu.
Well, you know, one thing that, you know, it got brought up earlier with them, you know, dealing directly with Toei on stuff like One Piece, is I won't be surprised if the Japanese side, knowing that, you know, what we had Jason confirm now, that they still have to go through and you know, get the Japanese side to sign off on this stuff, is if these Japanese studios and the production committees and whatnot, if they want this stuff to air on TV internationally, what we're going to start seeing is effectively what we do at Discotech, and that's we get home video rights, and occasionally we get streaming rights. We don't go after broadcast rights. So if we have a show that, you know, I mean, we don't really go after new stuff either, because it's just outside of our target market. But the reality is that if we had a show that, say, was 10 years old, that Jason or, you know, whoever's making the programming decisions at Toonami wanted to air, the thing is, they wouldn't come to us because we don't get those rights. Like, it's not something we go after, because we don't see an avenue to having somebody wanting to knock on our door and want to air it and us make money off it. So the thing is, because the Japanese side, they don't like a monopoly. And while, yeah, it's fun to joke that, you know, Crunchyroll's a monopoly, unfortunately, because we exist, Sentai exists, Viz exists, G-Kids exists, you know, there's a number of other companies out there that they're functionally not a monopoly. But if the Japanese side starts to see that, hey, you know, they're getting these rights, but they're literally doing nothing with it, and if we stop selling them the broadcast rights to these and start negotiating directly with a network, there's an avenue for return revenue there that Crunchyroll is leaving on the table, because Crunchyroll makes money off of it, but so does the Japanese side, because that money for the licensing goes back to them. And so, I think that One Piece is a good example of, if the Japanese studios start going, we want this to air in America, we want it on TV, they'll stop letting Crunchyroll get those broadcast rights. And a lot of them they inherited from Funimation, because Funimation was willing to play ball with Adult Swim. And so I think that if they really want it, they'll put their foot down and go, fine, you want streaming rights, you want home video rights, you got them, they're yours. You're not getting the broadcast rights to go with these. And unfortunately, it goes back to what we were saying with the Japanese side is just slow on things. They're slow and methodical, which is good in a lot of ways, but it's also bad because there's a lot of stuff that could potentially be getting aired, but they've got to make the decision and crunch the numbers and decide, do we cut off Crunchyroll buying these rights in order for us to sell them directly to somebody else later on? And, there's no one good answer to that. But I do think also what Sam was saying about diversifying the block and not just focusing on action, I think that kind of also goes back to, again, you have to get past those licensing. But the thing is, when you look at the television market today, Jason always mentions the shows that, like, Fox went after Escaflowne when they wanted it and sniped it out from them. And, nobody remembers Fox as being like a home for anime. Like, yeah, they dabbled in it, but they never really did anything. Sci-Fi Network did it. G4 and Tech TV, they did it. There's a whole bunch of networks that dabbled in it, but nobody ever did it the way Adult Swim or Toonami and, Cartoon Network did over all these years. But I think at the time, for them to carve out a niche and go, okay, well, if you want a rom-com type show, you can find that on another network. We're the action block. That made sense because there were other networks that were getting that stuff. These days, there is nobody else airing anime to any actual extent. And so I think that, if they really want to stick to we're the action block, I mean, yeah, you can still be the action block and run a romantic comedy as 1.5 hour out of a 3 or 4 hour block,
I mean, they are Food Wars, and that's not really an action thing.
Right, and that's a good example of them diversifying. It's rapid paced, and it's a like you said, it's not action, but it's like I don't really have the words for it, but yeah, it's more of a faster paced type show compared to some of these other shows that would be considerably slower. But I think there's a market for it, just because nobody else is tapping into that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, also, I think also, like, the Japan side is kind of like seeing what Crunchyroll was doing in the first place and are like not deciding not like to have enough with it, because like you've seen some examples like the Black Clover movie. Black Clover's been like a Funimation thing for like God knows how long, and the movie went to Netflix. Netflix has that movie. Tokyo Revengers was a Crunchyroll show. Like season 2 is now a Disney Plus Hulu thing.
And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was Warner Brothers Japan. They licensed it out to Crunchyroll, and that went to Netflix.
Viz Media had JoJo.
No, Warner Brothers Japan is the license holder and master license holder for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Viz Media is just the U.S. distributor. Viz Media, from what I've heard, does not want to work with Crunchyroll. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, considering I recently just bought a Blu-ray Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 from Viz. I don't know. I don't know how that whole thing works. But like, what was I gonna say? And then also like MBN is what it's called. Made a deal with Sentai to like have some of their stuff. MBS, sorry, my bad.
Mitsubishi Broadcasting Services, I believe.
But like we still have yet to see the extent of that. But that's still the license holder for a lot of big shows like Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, and the shows like that. I'm gonna laugh hard if like season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen goes to Sentai or whatever.
MBS the holder? I think NHK has Attack on Titan now. That was MBS for season 1 and 2. I think NHK took over for season 3 of that. And then I think for Jujutsu Kaisen, I thought that was TV Tokyo.
No, it's MBS. But yeah, the whole point is that I think Japan's also starting to have enough of Crunchyroll. Yeah. I didn't really get to ask you, CJ.
JNN, Japanese News Japan News Network is actually the network that they use.
I didn't get to ask you a lot, CJ. How have you been feeling on these schedule changes as of late?
Not great. To be fair with it, like I was mentioning earlier, like I think that a lot of this is just a comfort and cost issue, because working within television, and again on a much smaller scale than what obviously Adult Swim does, even though I would definitely say my studio has more staff than Adult Swim after visiting. It's obviously not seen as by many people, so we can get away with mistakes, which is awesome. I understand typical casual audience viewing habits. I understand what people like, because change is scary. They don't like that. And so while obviously the schedule changing constantly isn't great, they're trying to at least try to keep it somewhat consistent with shows that they believe that casual audiences will be able to check. Because I have a feeling that they're thinking, well, if you are channel hopping and all of a sudden you get onto Primal, are you really going to go away from it? Probably not. I don't know. That's probably what they're thinking of. Why? And I've seen the question: why don't they double up on Shippuden? Why don't they double up on One Piece?
Why would you want to double up on those shows? Because you want them to last as long as possible.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just my whole thing is like they've done it before. So if it worked, they would have kept that. But clearly, it didn't work. And while I would definitely say, fuck it, just do it anyway. It's a lot easier for me to say that because my ass isn't on the line, right? So they did it, and it just didn't stick because I guess people just weren't as interested. I'm at least surprised that Double Shippuden wasn't as
I would take Double Shippuden over One Piece.
Out of here faster, please.
Well, just to make the filler less.
Like late summer 2024. Please,
I mean,
just end it.
There's that, but it's more in a sense for just like a lot of anime fans in the US just love Naruto, right? So it's like I'm at least a little bit surprised with that. And obviously, One Piece is One Piece still, so I mean, again, it's kind of surprising.
I mean, like they had it doubled for nearly a year,
right? And then they stopped, so it's like I guess it just isn't what they thought, right? So I have a feeling they're thinking of and I tell this to anyone who like tries to say, oh, they should do this, they should do that. If you're thinking that, they probably already thought that 12 times already, just because like it's their job to actually really come up with strategies for programming type of thing. Not to say that you can't maybe figure out a diamond in the rough. It's just, believe me, with the kind of meetings that you have with that type of an important discussion like that, they probably did think of it. Do I like these moves? No. I mean, I haven't really liked a lot of the things that they've grabbed in a while either, right? And while I am happy that they're doing...
Wasn't a fan of Made in Abyss, CJ?
I honestly like season 1 a lot more than 2.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair enough.
I didn't think 2 was bad, and like I've talked about it on other podcasts before, things along those lines. But I don't know. To be honest, the movie was fantastic. I kind of wish it just aired that.
Oh yeah, I wish they would. But apparently rights were not available.
Yeah, I asked Jason that on his Q&A recently. He just said the rights weren't gettable.
Yeah, but it's one of those kind of things where it's just like a lot of the stuff that they do is just kind of meh. And I was one of the very, very small voices. I was like, no, I'd rather you just hold on to Super and just keep that going, because that's just literally Family Guy of anime. Just
Yeah.
people
Like,
will watch it, whatever.
When you said that they didn't have it anymore, I was like, do they not? And then I went to the website and I didn't see it, because
Nope.
for the longest time,
That's gone.
for a good while, I kept seeing that Super was on the site, but the earliest episode they had was like 30
Yep.
or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, yeah, I see it's gone. I'm like, what the hell?
Yep.
It's like I thought
Which
they had
is-
it for longer.
No, and I'm being more like bullish when I say things like that, but it's more along those lines of just like, you see, what are some of the more popular, or not popular, just syndicated shows that just always seem to be on? Family Guy, Simpsons. I don't generally like watch those, but they're still going. American Dad.
Yeah.
To me, Dragon Ball is like in the same category, because like I know if I'm channel surfing, all of a sudden I see like Dragon Ball on, I was like, I'll watch
Yeah,
this.
and
For
it-
God's sakes, the station that I work at originally aired Dragon Ball to the Massachusetts audience. Like, it's just something that's ingrained with everybody. You
Yeah,
know, especially
and
with
there's,
those with anime fans. So it's
There's
just
like few anime that they could syndicate that could really hold a casual audience, and that
Yeah.
like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and Cowboy Bebop are like the three that come to mind. And
Oh, Naruto.
and I would have
Even
thought that
Naruto.
too. I would thought of that too, and yet we're still just like kind of not really with it. I guess I don't know. So it's just
I've
like
tried syndicating Naruto out of the block. They pulled it, and it's probably
Yeah.
because of the same reason. The casual audience just isn't interested in watching that for too long.
And so I think that's more in the lines of like a lot of things need to change. And I don't necessarily mean, change this, taxes are too high type. I mean more in a sense of like our expectations, our habits, all of that has to change now when it comes to Toonami. Because I think the schedule that how it turned out the way that it did is kind of indicative of what we want, or what we should start doing, as fans, to realize what is this really catering for, right? And as much as I would love Toonami to be the first place to watch a lot of the stuff that I like, that really isn't going to be the case anymore unless it's an
Yeah.
original.
Yeah,
And it's like,
I've been
what do
kind of
you-
saying I've been saying that for years now, is that as streaming becomes more of a priority for licensors, Toonami's not going to be the priority. We've been seeing that for years now, where
but it's not
the
just
dub-
licensors either. It's networks too. Look at how much they've been pulling, like CBS with their stuff, Fox,
Mhm.
all, like everything. Like a lot of networks, even that have traditional cable, are strategizing with streaming. Believe it or not, the sport that actually does the best, and it probably has changed, but the sport that does best with streaming and like online media stuff, believe it or not, has been basketball. With
believe
baseball really behind, with like second place, surprisingly. It's
If
because of
Steve
how
was here, he'd
early
probably
they
agree.
integrated it within their culture and all that type of stuff. Football was like, nah, that's not going to be a big thing. We don't want it. And that's why they've been so late to the party. And now all of a sudden you see them having, Thursday Night Football on Amazon. It's kind of like the same thing with your anime now, where it's just like, sure, if you want Toonami to be the first place to be able to check your anime, guess what anime fans are going to have to do? They're going to have to stop subscribing to all these streaming services to show where they want to see it. But that's not the case. They wanted the earlier dubs. They wanted all these types of things. And so because Toonami doesn't necessarily have that same type of thing, despite the fact that they, started the idea back with Jetstream, it's like fans need to realize, well, the market's indicating that we want this, when it's like, no, we actually want this. Well, we have to kind of prove that, and we're not. And that could easily be equated to a multiple reasons. The fan base is dwindling, traditional television isn't as popular as it once was, obviously. The laundry list goes on and on, but it's more so in a sense of just like, what do Toonami fans really want? Oh, we want new shows. Oh, okay. What do you want? Oh, well, I saw this on Crunchyroll. We should get Spy X Family. Oh, we saw this on Disney, Summertime Render. It's just like, so you just want to watch a rerun? So you see the saying where it's like, you're asking for a rerun technically to be on the block, when it's like, but we're complaining that they're just showing reruns. So it's like, no, that's not really what you want. It's counterintuitive of what you actually want with it. And it's up for, I think it's more on the fans, and I might be more biased on that just because Toonami has been always a fan, dedicated type of entertainment, where the fans felt they had a little bit of say, hey, get this programming, get this, get that, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, that's being taken away, and not through Toonami, but through the media itself, right? Like through the anime, due to the fact of where it's being licensed and where the broadcasting rights are going. Yeah. So it's like an identity crisis that I think Toonami fans aren't quite ready to face at the moment, which is fine. You don't have to do.
It's also not like a simple, clear-cut answer too, because
nope,
it's like
there is none.
There's no way path forward, because ultimately their goal is like, look, we're going to try and get as much content out as we can. We're working on our originals. That's where you'll get most of your premieres from now on. And that's fine by me, as long as they're good. Most of the time
exactly, right.
Have been,
but
who wants to see Black Lotus for the 8th time?
They wrote it off, so thank God it's no longer.
We won't be able to. But it's more so in a sense of just like, there's a lot of like talking out of both sides that I think fans aren't realizing that they're doing. And it's more so in a sense of just like, we need to kind of be ready for any type of adaptation that the block might turn into, for better, for worse. And as I tell this to people all the time, if you aren't happy with it, then just let it go. It's totally fine. Like I
gonna have to tell that to a couple of Twitter users.
I know, but my sense is just like, I understand. I don't mind complaining when it comes through good faith arguments, but when it isn't, that's what gets me kind of with that. But my whole thing is stepping back is just like, as I've been telling you guys here, I haven't necessarily been super thrilled about the block, right? And while I'm not like dreading every Saturday to help work on it, because I do like seeing the camaraderie when I help on social media and things along those lines, it's fine. Yeah. But like, Toonami used to be like literally my one and only, right? Like I would do conventions for it, I would do coverage for it, I would do all such things, like putting my time into it. But it's just my interest with it has waned, not through their fault, just with how things have gone with the block. So it's important to be able to find other things to kind of fill that nerd void. And thankfully I've found some fantastic outlets while still being able to be true and with Toonami. That's what I want more than anything. And so I think it's really important for fans to kind of realize, like, you need to ask yourself, what is it that you want from this block? This schedule is not what you want. I can guarantee you that, just because of how played out a lot of things are. And so I would love for other things that they do own to be able to just be on the block instead, whether it be a rerun. But it's like that whole thing that I was mentioning where it's like, yeah, I saw this great show on this streaming service, get it on Toonami. It's like, that's technically a rerun. While it may not be necessarily one where it's like a rerun on TV itself. But like, I saw My Hero Academia. Oh, I want My Hero Academia on the block. Wait, what? Like, what are we doing? Like, if you actually want to go for like original, why don't we go for something where we can like crowdsource to be able to get Toonami to commission a dub for something like Planet With or Recreators, right? Like,
someone asked Jason.
Oh, I know that's out of the table. I know. I was crushed when I saw that answer. I was so crushed.
He was also asked if they'd be willing to do what they did with standalone conflicts again, and
or
like
Space Dandy.
partially fund like the show getting made in exchange for airing rights. And he said that's not out of the question.
But I want my Recreators dub Sam too. I want it.
I would gladly work on Planet With Blu-ray a second time around if we could add a dub.
Yes, but you see what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of thing that I think fans should be looking more for, even though it's honestly, Jason said there's no way that's happening. But you get what I'm saying, where it's just like, it's not necessarily a rerun because the dub itself is brand new. Whereas if you're just asking for like Spy Family, which also I really love, but yeah, that's dub. So it's just like everyone's already seen it.
They're technically reruns, but at the same time, like, even if I've seen these shows like Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, even if they were to come on Toonami, I'd watch them all over again. Oh, but that's just me.
Those shows are more likely to have that. Yes, 100%. I'm being, again, more tongue-in-cheek with it because I like to poke the bear, so they say.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just where I go with the schedule. Do I like it? Absolutely not. But then again, I like, what's the schedule, right? It's going to be double primal. I love Primal, but I'm not
Like-
like, oh, I can't wait to see it. Food Wars, One Piece, cool. Stupid, meh.
And this is something that, like, okay, so, like, I love Primal. The show is great, but it's slowly kind of getting ruined for me just because of the number of reruns it's been having. And lately, for, like, the past couple weeks on Toonami, I've just been shutting off my TV at 2:30 because it's like, okay, I'm not in the mood to see Primal again. And I doubt like any new promos or bumpers are going to be like playing unless they do like a refresh and I'm like, damn, now I gotta sit through this. But like, yeah, I've been shutting off my TV at like 2:30 because it's like I'm not gonna watch Primal again. Like, and now, it's freaking starting off the block. By the way,
You'll
welcome
never
back.
escape it.
By the way, welcome back, Steve. We're talking about the scheduling and how hurt we all are.
Welcome back, Steve.
They could always run
Clearly,
So
Seiya.
tell me, where did Toonami touch you? On the stall right here.
Oh, God.
Clearly, I missed a lot while I was having issues with my computer battery.
Well, I guess, like, what are your thoughts, Steve, on the recent conundrums of this schedule?
Oh God. Good question. Good question. Mainly pain. I mean, like you said, I am personally also getting a little sick of the Primal reruns. Granted, I love Primal, but I'm getting sick of Primal. CJ, I forgot who wrote it. The Primal Fatigue article, was it?
Oh God, I have no idea. I'd have to
Is that
look that up.
sketch?
It might have
Sketch.
been.
Yeah, like, it's real. It's
Yeah.
very real. And it is kind of sad to see the block where it currently is, but at the same time, it's understandable that they can't get, the next Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu Kaisen or something along those lines. Don't really know where I'm heading with it because I'm a little rattled from the computer issues, but yeah, guess just sad, but understandably sad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's just like my feelings too. It's just sad. I mean, like, not like you just gotta deal with it. It is what it is,
Yeah, and I
Just-
feel like we're kind of spoiled in a way because a few years ago we were getting essentially everything that was new and exciting, and we kind of got used to that, and now it's like not so much.
Yep. Well, I guess this topic went on long enough. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say on this.
I mean,
Mm.
it is what it is. I'm personally disinterested in what Toonami airs right now, but I'll say this, is that I'm still happy the block is still around, that it's still doing well, that it's still healthy in a sort of sense. Is the current lineup what I want? No, not really. But it is what it is for the time being anyway. So we'll see what happens in the next few months. If nothing happens, then oh well.
All right. Well, I guess this brings us to the end of the podcast. So, yep, just gotta wait and see what happens next, and we'll probably be back next month, or I don't know, 2 months, depending if we have a drought or a flood of news. But yeah, just gotta deal with it. Like, it's so far, this year is looking to be the same as last year, just another drought. Like, I want to say, like, so far, like, the biggest highlight I've seen was the One Piece crossover. Like, that was a fun time, but other than that, But I guess we should start plugging our stuff now. So you can follow me on Twitter at Samster299, YouTube Samster299, where I archive Toonami stuff now. Maybe occasionally a little fan-made thing here and there. Also follow me on Twitch, even though I don't stream. Maybe, I don't know. I've actually had an idea recently. Also, Hype Social, just in case Bird app explodes. Thanks, Dumb. And also, like, you can follow Toonami Squad on Twitter, Toonami Squad Instagram, Toonami Squad YouTube. You know, like you got the website, and expired merch at Redbubble, all that fun stuff. What about you? What about the rest of y'all, Sam?
Oh, I'm on Twitter at SZUniverse.
Steve?
You can follow me on Twitter at Estherso5, Instagram also at Estherso5, my inactive Twitch at Toonami Ultra. If the Bird app dies, my Hive is also at Toonami Ultra. My personal project for New York Red Bulls and Gotham Kit Tracking is at NY Kit Tracker. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Joshua?
You can find me on Twitter at JMB_70056. And that's about it.
Logan?
You can find me on Twitter at Schmollis1. That's pretty much about it. I don't really use any other sites at this point. I do have a Mastodon and I think one other site, but they're all Schmollis1. Otherwise, as usual, buy Discotheque Blu-rays because it keeps me employed. Shameless plug.
What's this Gunbuster Blu-ray doing in my Amazon cart?
It's so close. It's almost done. I'm pretty sure it's in replication. I think it's got to be shipping soon. I hope.
All right, CJ, and where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CJMaffers. You can check out my weekly This Week from Toonami articles, where I try to gather up as much news about the block as well as shows related to the block every week. Try to do that for the fans, anything like that. Sometimes it can be really fun. Sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? But I try to do the best I can on that. You know, I may be more disappointed with the block, but I do still try to keep the flame going for those who are a bit more passionate and a bit more cheerful about it. And, you know, you can always check out anything that I do on Toonami Faithful. And that should be it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. that's all I really have. I don't it's not like I stream, it's not like I do anything else along those lines. So but I'm rarely on Twitter, so you probably won't really see much of my thing anyway. Twitter's a dark place. It's rough out there, boys.
Yeah.
Oh, it so is. Thanks, Elon.
Yeah. Well, I guess that does it for another podcast episode. All we can hope for is this. We just gotta hope for a better, tomorrow when it comes to the block. Hopefully shortly after this goes up, or even before this goes up, we get outdated already, because that tends to happen. But I just want Toonami to be in a good position, and I just don't want to keep seeing these schedule stalls. I don't know, No, go ahead.
I will say this: we've been here before. This is not the first time we've been here. The block match. So I don't think there's nothing to really worry about.
Yep.
We'll just have to see.
Yep.
Despite the schedule and how it is, we're going to be all right.
Yeah. Hope, like Jason said, he's going to be very, really proud when they eventually exceed the point of Cartoon Network's era of Toonami. He says that would be the anniversary he's most proud of, is if Adult Swim Toonami manages to last longer than Cartoon Network Toonami. But yeah. Yep.
I cannot believe Toonami. I cannot believe Toonami has been bad as long as its original. That is freaking crazy.
But anyway, this has been another Toonami Squad podcast. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye.